Howdy. So, the last episode I think we talked about our time at Perlubie, which was really, really good. That whole Eyre Peninsula was fantastic, but then it was time to go. We headed through Madura and then did a little bit of shopping, a bit of a look around. Then Penang, and Penang is an amazing place where they've put together, the community's put together this massive collection of windmills, and some of them are absolutely fantastic. I think the largest one they've got there is like 38 feet in diameter, and it's just something, you know, pretty out there. Near there was also the Pink Lakes, which we went down to see, and it's a fairly well, it's a gravel track going down there, and in going down that area, we actually managed to do ourselves a little bit of a mischief with the caravan, but I'll talk about that later. And that whole section of road there is where we started seeing more and more of these B triples, B doubles, these semi-trailers, which were just massive, and they deserve their side of the road, and evidently they deserve some of mine as well. So that's fine. We stopped at one point, and actually we had a look, and we saw that some of the cabinetry that we've got inside the drawers just underneath what I'm sitting on, not so much that had failed, but they hadn't been put together completely. Where are the screws? So it looks like we sort of had to do some stopgap fixes here and there. I'm not a cabinet maker. That's why I paid someone else to build me a caravan. Anyway, we got to the sign at the start of the eastern end of the Nullarbor, which is pretty cool. Took the obligatory photo, and then we decided we were going to go down to what they call the head of the bight. It's kind of like the start of where the Great Australian Bight is, and we got there about I think about 4 o'clock, and the actual gates through to where the head of the bight is were closed. So they opened between like 8:30 and 3:30 or something like that. So we just missed out. But right there on the end of that road there's a building, which I don't know what it was, but it was a big sandstone building. But you could camp around it. There's a really nice flat area designed for overnight campers. So we pulled up there. There was another sort of dozen or so people there, and we had a really, really nice. Just stop the kettle boiling. There we go. There was a really nice sunset. In the morning, I went about doing a little bit of cabinetry repair work, and I had to wait until people sort of were awake, so it was a decent hour, not 6 a.m. with a rattle gun. And we went down to the walking tracks, which are like raised walkways, and they are absolutely stunning. You sort of see photos of the Great Australian Bight and the cliffs and what have you, but until you actually see it and you see the ocean swell underneath it, you haven't really seen it. If you've seen photos of it, it's not enough. So I'm sorry, I'm going to show you photos, maybe some video, but it's not enough. So anyway, they're around 60 odd meters. You're about 60 meters off sea level at that point where they start. And we spent probably a good hour looking down at the cliff tops, from the cliff tops down the bottom, and I think you could spend, I don't know, some of the areas there you can actually camp there right on the cliff top. I don't know that I would, certainly not right on the cliff top. So anyway, we then continued on the Nullarbor, and we ended up getting to the old Nullarbor Roadhouse. So there's an old roadhouse and there's a new roadhouse, but we took the obligatory photos near the old roadhouse. We didn't refuel because it was about $2.80 a litre, and so we're using an app called I think Fuel app, I think, and it sort of gives you fairly regular updates on what the cost of fuel is around the country actually. But so we knew we could avoid paying that much there, so we didn't have to pay. Hello, so we're about to head over to West Australia. First time in 49 years. I was here as a 7.5-year-old, and that was just 6 hours in Fremantle. So this is the first time back. Very excited. Well, I'm back. And we're at the checkpoint where they check for quarantine, food and stuffs and all that sort of stuff.
And we're going to pull over and drop some stuff off. So I'm going to stop recording.
Stop recording. So the night before, we'd gone through our stock of vegetables, and we had a look on the WA Gov site around what you can and what you can't bring in. And one of the things were you couldn't bring in potatoes unless they were peeled, and onions. They could be peeled and chopped and stuff. So we we ate a lot of vegetables. Pumpkin, similarly, we had to sort of chop it and what have you. And so we were pretty confident. We got there. There was only one car ahead of us, 2 lanes going through. We sort of got through pretty quickly, and the guy sort of said, "Oh, you've got any vegetables?" I said, "Yeah, we do. Come and have a look." So we jumped in the van, and we showed him our very proud collection of chopped and peeled potatoes, and he said, they've got to be frozen. What? And he's right. We just misread the thing. So you had to peel them, chop them, and freeze them. So see you later to about 2 kilos of chopped up potatoes. So no mash for us for a little while. Onions and all that was okay. So that's the other thing we had to actually get rid of. Melanie was even worried about, which says, don't bring seeds. And she goes, but we've got muesli bars. It's like, no, the muesli bars aren't seeds. They're talking about seeds. So yeah, we didn't have any muesli bar plants on us. So anyway, we took the obligatory photo, which is in front of the big old WASA sign, which must date from the 60s or 70s, I guess. It's really quite cringe, but it's good. It's good. We did all that. We then continued on up to a place called Madura. And there's a place to stay there, but we decided to free camp. And as you come out of Madura, you climb up what they call Madura Pass. And right at the top of Madura Pass is a way stop there where you can actually camp. It's like quite a big free camp. There was 2 vans in there that we'd already seen before, 2 older couples, and a young hippie lady in a van. And the pass overlooks this massive big long plain, and so we watched the sunset. We had dinner there. We watched the moon come up, did a little bit of night shots. What you get there is, because it's obviously it's a main thoroughfare for trucking, you get a lot of the B doubles and B triples coming up, but they're struggling to get up the hill, so they're doing about 10 kilometres an hour at about 8,000 revs. So it's just like you hear them coming for about 10 minutes before they even get there. But that's pretty good. This van is actually fairly well insulated, both sound-wise and temperature-wise, weather-wise. So that's pretty good. What we then found, we had a campfire, which was quite good. And then what we found in the morning, I'd gone up to watch the sunrise, and turned around, and there's a dude has come in at night, and he's literally parked about 3 meters away from our van. It's like, mate, you've got like 5 acres here to choose from. Why did you come literally right next to our caravan with his rooftop tent? And he obviously was using us as a bit of a wind shelter. There was a bit of a wind, but it wasn't too bad. But it was just like, yeah, no, don't do that again, dude. And then, yeah, the little bit of mischief that we come into is when we went down to the Pink Lakes area. There was a small little washout, little bog hole there that I had to navigate with the van on the back. And not only had to go through, you had to go sort of around it. And in going around it, there was a big rock at the bottom of this thing. And as I came through the car and then came through the van, and I heard this and felt this thump. I was like, oh bugger, what was that? And so when we got to Madura, I realised that I'd actually it had hit, the caravan had hit this rock, and one of the stabiliser legs at the rear had been hit, and the little 2 pins that go in and lock it inside the spring-loaded pins, one of them had basically been bent up, and so it was quite difficult to get the well, it was impossible, in fact, to lower the leg. So it's like bugger. So I set about pulling it out, took the whole leg off, worked out how it got put together, managed to get the thing out, and then with a set of vice grips and a hammer and that, I managed to straighten it out just enough to get it back in there. And so it's in working order now, and it should be fine for the rest of the trip. But in the morning, I then had to do a couple of things, like the microwave up here had shaken off its mount. I'll just move that around. So there's a few photos, but there's a surround that goes all the way around it. Oh, let's see where my fingers are going. Yeah, all the way around it. And the screws had come off the surround, and the surround then mounts into the side of the microwave, and a couple of the screws had come off, so the whole thing was just moving around. So I managed to get that. When I actually took the microwave out, you could see the screws that were supposed to be there were just lying there underneath and on the cabinetry. So fixed that up, which was really quite annoying. But the question that comes to my mind is, we've spent about 90 grand on this van. Why do I need to be doing this? But anyway, so that's it for this yet. Enjoy. Cheers.